Hey guys, welcome back. This is Project Life, week 52. This week I was super lucky that scrapbook.com sent me a couple of card packs from their Simple Scrapbooks line. And today I am going to use the Everyday Moments pack. So there are 42 cards in this pack, both 3x4 and 4x6s. So it's going to take me a tiny little bit of time to go through all of these cards and pick out some for my spread. Lots of my photos this week were kind of quite heavy on the green, and so I want to sort of offset that with some of these cards. So there is a lot of kind of greens in these patterns, lots of beautiful florals, but there are also some other lovely colors in here. You can see lots of pinks and teals and yellows. The colors are all a little bit kind of muted. They're not super bright, so it works really nicely. And I'm going to just go through here. So I've picked out the 4x6 card for the bottom. This was actually, so it was this week that I realized that my 2020 album is going to end up with 53 weeks in it rather than 52. So I thought I was at the end. This is not the end. I have one more week to go after this. So this was the week of Christmas. Lots of my photos from this sort of week ended up in my December daily album. I decided not to repeat those in this spread this week. And so I don't have a ton of photos for this week, but it kind of works out well. It gives me that spot down the bottom with that 4x6 card to use for journaling instead of a full photo, which I normally would, and I'm going to end up with a couple of those little sort of things. So I've got the Remember This journal card, and I decided to go with that rainbow stripe down the bottom for my photo of Jack. I like that it had all of those colors in it. It has that little bit of green, so it kind of ties the green in, but it does also introduce all of the other colors, which gives me an opportunity to add those colors into the other journaling cards that I'm going to use. So I have a little photo of a puzzle that we did over Christmas, and I've added that onto a yellow, sort of yellow patterned journaling card. And I haven't quite picked out my title card yet, but there are a couple of these cards here, you can see both of them, that have like a spot for a title already on them. So it's going to make doing a title card super easy. I just hadn't quite decided whether I wanted that really quite muted teal or the pink. I mean, you know I love pink, but you also know that I try not to go like super pink heavy all the time. And so I was kind of trying to avoid that, but actually in the end I'm going to go with the pink one because I love it so much and it's going to be so easy. Now this pack has a bunch of things that are like geared towards journaling, but there's also plain patterns, there's also kind of filler cards. It really does have the whole range of everything that you could need. So what I want to do today is just kind of challenge myself. There's 42 cards, so I've got a lot of cards to use. I want to challenge myself to use as many of those as I can. So I'm going to try and keep anything else, any other sort of embellishments to a bare minimum and just see what I can do, what I can create with these cards. So the first thing I tried was there was a 4x6 card that had the initials for the days of the week. And I thought that would be kind of fun to point out what days some of these things happened. So I have trimmed out 3. It also brings in all of those colors again, and I'm going to use those as just like little embellishments. But spoiler alert, I'm not actually going to end up using all 3 of those. I cut them all out, but I'm going to end up, I think, only using 1 in the end. Now what I did go ahead and do was pull out my Wordfetti documented stamp set. This was another gift from scrapbook.com before Christmas, and I have not used it nearly as much as I wanted to, so I figured now was another good time to pull this out and create a few little embellishments. I'm not necessarily going to be stamping these directly on my photos like I normally would. I've just grabbed a bit of scrap card here, and I'm going to stamp those down just with some black ink, and then I can trim them out, and it kind of gives me like that little tiny word sticker look, and the white on top of those sorts of colorful cards really can just help to break up some of that color, and there is a lot of color in here. Now the other stamp set that I've grabbed out, I mean, I need to have some alphas in here, so I grabbed out the Subway lowercase stamp sets. This one I am going to just stamp directly onto my photo here. Same black ink, that's just the Memento Tuxedo Black. I'm going to stamp out Run, and I was getting a whole I was kind of carried away with how many things I could add onto these cards, and in the end I really just liked that simple look, so I've just stamped one word onto there in the black. There's that kind of spare space up in the photo on the blue sky, so it stands out really nicely, and I just like how that looked. But on this card, this is where I sort of changed my mind about that, the letter for the day of the week, and instead I'm going to use two journaling cards. So I'm going to kind of create my own. I loved the heading on this blank journal card, it says on this day, but I really did love the yellow pattern of the original card that I had picked out. I liked the color it added, and rather than having a kind of blank background, so what I did was stick down that yellow, I'm going to call it a floral, on top of the other journaling card. There was a line underneath that title, so I just lined the pattern up with that, trimmed the bottom off, and added my photo. So it already looks a bit more layered, and it really didn't take any time at all. Now the little offcut from that yellow floral, I'm going to use that on the bottom of my photo here. Again, just to add a little bit of color and to repeat those patterns, just to bring a little bit of consistency. But also, I decided to change my mind. I'm not going to add the day of the week little initial in there, but I did like that documented word that I had ended up stamping out and cutting out. It did get a little bit lost on the photo on its own though, so having that little strip of pattern paper across there just gives it a home, it gives it somewhere to sit, and helps it stand out a little bit more. I also love, and this was sort of accidental, but I love that adding that piece of yellow gives me yellow and blue on that card, and then on the other side I've got the yellow and blue from the photo as well. So again, a little bit of consistency with the colors, and then I've got the blue in the middle. So I just feel like I'm tying in all of those colors together, especially the colors that aren't necessarily part of the card set here. I do have a lot of blue and I had a lot of green, so I want to tie all of those colors together. Now I really liked how that documented word turned out, so I'm going to do a couple more. I have used one of these ones that is a little bit darker, so there's no white part from the lettering. When I cut that out, I didn't leave a white border around the outside of it. I trimmed it out so it looks like a black tiny word sticker, and then I did another one in that same white. So I get the two different looks from the same stamp set, very handy. I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm just sticking down my photo, and then I'm going to add my two little word strips underneath there. Because I'm using this 4x6 card for my journaling, it's a whole lot more journaling than what I would normally have, so I don't feel the need to add any on top of any of the other photos that I've got. Now, because I've ended up with just this one little initial for the day of the week, M, Monday, Foggy Monday, I decided to trim the bottom of it a little flag shape just to give it a little bit more interest, because it's going to be on its own now, so I wanted it to be a little bit more individual. And then I'm going to do a little bit of stitching. So I just wanted to add some texture to this, a little bit of difference. So I took these three cards over to my sewing machine. The sewing machine just happened to be stitched in black, but it was something that I really enjoyed. So I've got that black stamping on there and the black tiny words, so the black stitching really worked nicely. I stitched my Monday tag at the top, and then I stitched all the way around the outside of my 3x4 filler card. That's especially handy for me because it's just adding a little bit of interest to what was ordinarily kind of just a plain filler card. And then I did a technique that I had done in my December daily album, which I really loved. That time I had made my own card and stitched around the outside of the printed line. So this time on the Remember This journal card, all I did was follow the printing that was already on the card and stitched around the outside of my journaling. So it's a simple technique, but it's one I knew I would love, and so I repeated it on here, and I love it just as much. Now I know I said I wasn't going to add too much embellishments, and I'm not. I'm just going to add a few little puffy heart stickers. These ones are super old ones from Feed Your Craft. but they just happen to have the perfect colours. They've got that sort of muted yellow and the green, and I added a couple of pink ones and a black one, and I'm going to call that done. And then all I need to do is just fill in my sort of title spot here for my title card, and I'm going to use that same Subway alphabet. I'm using the thin ones for the word week, and then I'm going to use the thicker version for the week number. I'm kind of having to squeeze it to fit it on here. I should have done a bit more planning. I didn't plan, as you can tell, as usual. I didn't plan the spacing, so I'm sort of squeezing on the week 52. But having that different font means that, or the different thickness of font, means that it doesn't really matter that there's no space between the two. So I think it reads nicely as week 52. And all I'm going to add is a little label here. I had one in a jar pre-cut, I think left over from my December daily album as well. I'm going to add my date stamping. It just happened to be the perfect kind of shade of teal. I'm going to pop that just directly underneath the stamping. The stamping wasn't super straight, so the label kind of hides that a little bit. And I'm going to add one of the little puffy hearts in there to bring in that yellow. So I've got pink, yellow, and teal at the top. And that is my page all done. I'm loving these cards. They are super cool. I will leave the link for you down in the description box, and check back later in the week when I try and sneak in week 53. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.